Hey, everybody, this is Dan.
This is Ron.
And this is Elizabeth.
And this is a nominee, questionable movies.
Yeah.
And they don't get much more questionable than today's movie, Cane Toads, An Unnatural History, directed by, I think it was like probably the only film that guy ever, anyway, documentary from 1988 about these invasive cane toads that take over Australia. They have like poison that they shoot out of their backs. And it's a complete coincidence that we chose this movie for this particular week. If you're listening to this after we've all been let out of our houses, well, we're not, as we're recording this, we are not yet in that phase. So,
well, this is the first of hopefully not too many COVID-19 special episodes.
Yeah, very special episodes.
Coming from you straight from the lair.
Two layers, two different places. Dan and Elizabeth are at their home, and I'm at my home, and we're recording this. This is all using video chat. So
somehow we're gonna have to do an episode of a nominee with no hugging or learning. So
oh no,
I don't know how we're gonna pull it off.
Has any TV show ever pulled that off?
Very carefully.
Very carefully.
But yeah, so I guess Elizabeth should probably talk first because she's the only one of the three of us who has seen this movie before.
Oh, you have?
Oh, really? I didn't realize I was the only one.
This is the first time that Elizabeth saw the movie before we did.
Wow.
You know, it makes me feel kind of special, I have to say.
So you wanna tell a story?
Okay, so I saw this movie when I was like 13. I was in my 8th grade science class, and our teacher, we were kind of covering a broad range of subjects, but one of the major things that I remember really focusing on that class that year was like climate change and kind of ecosystems and like the humans' impact on ecosystems. So we were talking about overpopulation and invasive species, and our science teacher, Mr. Knight, decided to show us this movie. And it's like one of those movies, if you get to watch a movie like that in 8th grade science class, like you never forget it because it's like so awesome. Like it wasn't just any documentary. It was funny and ridiculous and kind of gross, which is like exactly what all 13-year-olds are into. So
this is like the only movie I can think of that you would show to middle schoolers that involves drugs, necrophilia, and
like cars swerving across the road trying to kill toads. I mean, come on.
Yeah, like hitting things with cars.
That could be a video game.
Intentional reckless driving.
Right.
Well, yeah, it's like reverse Frogger, right? That would be kind of cool if you could play, right? Like there's that Pac-Man game where you can play as the ghosts and one person plays as Pac-Man, but what if there was a Frogger game where one person plays as Frogger and everyone else gets to control the cars?
Oh, nice.
And that kind of happens in this movie.
Or just like a game where the general objective of the game is to control a population that's grown out of control.
And
be a good learning experience.
I think for this episode, for this episode only, we should rename the podcast to be Anthropocene Questionable Ecology.
Anthropocene Questionable Ecology. What does Anthropocene mean?
It's the epoch in human history when humans have more control or more impact on the environment than vice versa, or the defining factor in ecology is humans. Okay. Humans live in human-created environments exclusively.
Well, it's actually, I would correct that and say epoch in Earth's history, not human history. But yeah, we like have fundamentally changed the landscapes and climate around us.
And there's certain toads that are really into that, apparently.
We did all the work for them. We are doing all the work for them. We found a nice place.
It's a great movie. Oh my gosh.
What was it?
So yeah.
But yeah, so this is this film is really strange.
I was gonna say this is a good movie for adults too, not just for 13-year-olds. For adults who want some humor, some gross out, living and dead frogs.
I mean, I think that what it really drove home now, even more than when I was 13, is like just like how weird these people are. just like humans are just weird. Like the couple that was,
Well, there's the guy who's like
actively
smoking the frogs.
Yeah, there's the guy who's smoking the frog poison.
There's the like kid who has the pet toad that she's just like, and they show us the footage of her like playing around with this pet toad right after like multiple stories of these things like killing animals on contact and like poisoning people.
Yeah.
Right.
And
with the dramatic music included.
We even got to see a staged, excuse me, a little rat, a lab rat or a mouse on top of one of the toads and then moving around them. I mean, that looked staged. That wasn't.
Oh, yeah, no, there was a disclaimer about that in the very end of the credits on top.
Oh, it did. Okay.
Yeah, it said that they were filming, so the toad did actually eat the mouse. It wasn't like, CGI or anything, but it was normal feeding time at like this wildlife sanctuary where they were studying the toads, so the mouse was going to get eaten either way.
Okay, I feel like ethically better now,
Yeah.
Like I can go to sleep tonight.
The mouse wasn't killed for the purpose of making this movie. It was gonna die anyways.
Yeah,
right.
Basically.
So this is a living memorial to that mouse.
Yeah.
The mouse.
Yeah, every other mouse that they fed to those toads just got eaten.
Yeah. Whereas this one is celebrated by millions and millions of 8th graders every year.
A true martyr.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so many weird, and like beyond the toad ecology kind of thing, this film fits in very kind of, because like Australian cinema, I don't know if you've seen a lot of Australian films.
I've seen Peter Jackman's early movies, like Meet the Feebles.
Yeah, that's pretty well like Peter Jackson's I think Peter Weir was from there, and then there's like one other movie I saw called Dogs in Space, but I can't remember who directed it.
Wait, what? What? Explain. What's Dogs in Space?
Oh, so it's like a movie about like 80s alt rock punk culture in Australia.
Oh,
and it's like a slice of life kind of thing. It was a pretty good movie, but there was this and Jane Campion, she's from Australia, but Australia, it seems like they turn out a lot more actors and directors and or like finished films that were shot in Australia. But the only part of Australian film history that you ever really hear about in film textbooks is always like the quote unquote Australian New Wave of the 1980s, which would include Jane Campion and Peter Weir, Picnic at Hanging Rock, and like Dogs in Space technically is part of that. And I kind of wonder where this movie fits in, because this might be the single most viewed Australian film ever made, right?
Wow.
They're showing this in like science classes, right? Because like I'm sure most people on the street, you go up to them in the US. Well, I mean, if you can find anybody on the street right now, but ask like, what's the last Australian movie you saw? And they're probably gonna say like Crocodile Dundee or something, right? Like that's not actually an Australian movie.
I'm not actually sure how many other students watched this movie in school, but I wouldn't be surprised if other classes did, because it's just like a perfect illustration of like what happens when humans like try to interfere too much with like the natural progression of things. But it's also entertaining, so it's like perfect.
It's Werner Herzog's favorite movie of all time.
So on the one hand, Werner Herzog's favorite anything, I can't imagine what that would be, right? Because his
favorite scene in any movie is that scene in Gummo where the bacon's taped to the wall while the kid's taking a bath.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And then, this is his favorite movie, period.
But if I asked you, hey, can you guess what Werner Herzog's favorite movie is?
Mm-hmm.
Like the last thing you would come up with is this. But knowing now that this is Werner Herzog's favorite movie, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect, yeah.
I couldn't come up with something, but I could definitely understand it. What he can do.
You know what I find really amazing about this movie is that, it makes the cane toads seem like such a strong group of characters, even though they don't say like they don't they're obviously not people, but they had such a strong presence throughout the movie. Like you know, they have this like person, like this like, what's the word, like not hive, but like this sort of group personality.
Right.
It's like,
They're all ready to attack as they
right, they're kind of like standing menacingly, like, well, one of my favorite scenes is like the one where the guy's in the shower and he's like singing or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think he's singing a song about the cane toads, and it's like a Psycho moment where, like, you know, you see like,
oh, it's a straight up parody of Psycho.
Yeah.
It's shot for shot. The guy's like in the shower singing something,
right,
and then
the toads are like approaching the steps, and then they're
and that was
climbing.
staged. That was definitely a stage. Like
I know.
the way that the like recreated sequences or kind of like slightly fictionalized sequences were staged in this movie is also like doesn't resemble the stage sequences I've seen in most other documentaries. Like it's almost, I don't know, it feels like campy in a way that's self-aware, but it's like self-aware completely through the acting and the cutting. Like they're not putting lens flares on the stuff.
Mhm.
There's no, they just kind of assume you're going to pick it up based on how bad the acting is.
Although, I mean, if it's a documentary, like, how do we know, like, were the people who showed up throughout the film, were they just all acting? Or
the earliest years of documentary, everything is acting. So like Nanook of the North, just the camera equipment. Did you ever seen, you know what Nanook of the North is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you describe it briefly? Can you describe
Yeah, Robert J. Flaherty. It's considered like the first feature-length documentary. And yes, Robert Flaherty did live with the Eskimos. Yes, he did see a lot of the things that were in the movie, but everything that's actually in the movie was basically stuff he observed and then told them to do again so that he could actually shoot it correctly. So everything in that movie is technically stage recreations. Same thing with like Fires Were Started, also considered a documentary film. That one, they just were, they kind of did like what Cave Zahedi did in A Little Stiff, where they just had the people who lived through an actual event act out the event on camera, basically. So the entire, that's why like cinema verite was such a huge deal in the 50s, because that was not the general like kind of accepted threshold for what was and wasn't a documentary up to that point. Yeah, so that's
I'm trying to decide though if it would be better if it was like actually people saying those things in real life, particularly the couple where, you know, the guy's just talking about how he lets them come sit on his feet. And then the woman,
I didn't think that part was.
Well, okay.
Was that part of the? Because I thought there were two sequences that seemed very obviously staged. There's the guy in the shower that's supposed to be the parody of Psycho.
Oh yeah,
and then there's like, what was the other one was like
the guy swerving across the road.
No, I thought that was real.
You thought that was real?
I'm pretty sure that was real. Yeah.
But there's two things here we're talking about. No, we're talking about on the one hand recreations, and on the other hand just the person in front of the camera telling us their thoughts. And are those lines that are fed to them or written, or is that just them spontaneously answering questions?
Right. Do we have any way of knowing?
Well, I mean, the other thing is like anytime you've ever watched like talking heads in a TV documentary, like kind of standard talking head TV documentary, like any PBS American Master series kind of thing.
Psycho Kid.
Those interview responses are never the first time the person says the thing. Basically, they have like a real interview where the person talks off the top of their head. Then the producers figure out these are the sound bites out of that interview that we want, and then they have them say them again so that they can get clean audio and they cut and it looks quote unquote professional. That's why people always seem to be speaking very unnaturally in those movies. And I got the sense that was kind of what was going on here, because like when you're actually interviewing someone, people will talk over each other periodically. People will stumble over things, especially if they're not used to being on camera, which I don't think none of these people seemed like they were super used to being on camera.
Right.
So I'm gonna guess, yeah, they probably, and sometimes that's like the right thing to do, right? Because if you're interviewing people where they're not necessarily the most articulate, but you don't want want the viewer to focus on like, oh, wow, that person is not articulate, instead of, oh, that's what that person thinks about that thing, then the recreation can actually be weirdly more accurate than the reality in certain ways. Because
that's interesting.
right, because like reality itself can tend to be kind of grotesque. Like if you just let reality play out on camera, you end up with like Grey Gardens half the time.
Oh my god,
That's a
whole other.
Like that.
Yeah,
that's a whole other thing.
I've seen both the movie and the musical play.
Did you see the documentary?
Yeah. I saw
Okay.
the
But the movie is the musical with
wait,
is it?
I was thinking the documentary and then seeing the musical on stage.
Because there's also apparently a 2009 movie that came out.
Yeah.
Oh. Wait, now I want to look.
Yeah, they remade it for HBO and that's another weird thing when they remake a documentary as a fiction film. And there's that one, what is it? It's called the Orkley trilogy. It's the guy who did Plan 10 from Outer Space. He like filmed this documentary of this like really fascinating, eccentric like teenager. And then he remade his own movie twice, except like shot for shot, line for line, except the second one is Crispin Glover redoing everything in the original documentary, The Orkley Kid. And then the third one is, I believe, Sean Penn recreating everything verbatim in the Orkley Kid short. And that's kind of weird with the Grey Gardens thing.
Well, no, so in Grey Gardens, there's the original 1975 movie, which is the documentary. We see the actual little Edie and Edith Beale or Edith Bouvier Beale. And then there's a 2009 TV movie with Drew Barrymore and Jessica Lange.
Right.
Which is is that the fictionalized version?
That's the fictional. That's the movie.
Okay. Oh, and there's
They're both movies.
Well,
yeah.
When you call, I mean, as a person who's made documentaries, I take offense to that statement.
Well, a documentary is a film.
Well, no, film is a physical material. Very few people have made in the last 10 years, I'm going to guess the number of actual quote unquote films made you could count on two hands, maybe.
Well, I'm talking about the sort of the abstract connotation.
You're thinking of the word cinema.
No,
I'm thinking about the word film. People refer to movies as films.
Yeah.
Sure, but like on a technical level, film is talking like movie just means the thing's moving, like the pictures are moving. Film means that it was shot on some kind of like celluloid strip.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like I can call a painting and a drawing, I can call both of them pictures,
right?
Or like a charcoal versus a gouache or something. It's like the thing that you're putting the stuff onto,
right?
Yeah, but but there's a difference here. It sounds like there's a difference here between a technical definition and a colloquial definition. And colloquially, the term film is synonymous with movies. It has a more highfalutin, or I'm trying to think of a better word than that.
Right. That was kind of my point, or it was the point of the joke, because that documentary is a film, not a movie. It's a film, but of course it's a movie. But what I meant was like, yeah, the 2009 version is the fictional
film.
Yeah, that's why I prefer the more inclusive term talkies. And I think we should all be forced to use that for like. No, first we're all stuck in our house. We're gonna start calling them talkies.
Well, I already told you guys about my push to call coronavirus cooties.
Oh man,
You're coming up with all sorts of ways of trying to push through this.
Teas.
But
wasn't cooties referring to something like from World War I during trench warfare?
Was it?
Some of the nasty stuff.
Oh.
Ew.
I always heard
terrible.
It as like a euphemism for head lice.
I always thought it was just something that little kids said to each other, like others of the generally opposite gender.
Like when I was in elementary school, like there was one kid, because they had to test us all for head lice, because they just do that in New York public schools when you're a certain age.
Wait, really?
Well, yeah, because if one kid gets head
God.
lice, every kid in the school gets head lice, and they got a giant problem on their hands, so they test everybody. And then they'll give you the treatment for free just because they don't want the school to break out, and they can't legally like say like you can't go into the school because you got head lice. But when that was going on, I just remember for like 3 months afterwards, we would play tag, but it was always called cooties, and it would be like one kid would run up to the girl that got tested positive for the head lice, like touch her on the shoulder, and then start chasing after people. It's like, you're gonna get the cooties.
Oh my god, children are terrible.
Right, but like in this, you're not gonna get head lice that way, thank God. But in this scenario, that would actually work.
Oh.
Wait, can you get COVID-19 from this scenario?
Well, what I'm saying is that like COVID-19 fits the childhood definition of cooties that I was taught better than the thing than head lice, the thing that I thought they were. So Elizabeth might be on to something.
You know, I'm just staying ahead of the curve. It's
But it's not enough to just touch the shoulder. You'd need her to cough onto you, cough onto your hand when you're doing that, right? Because it's not about touch contact. It's about the respiratory, blowing the infected droplets in the air.
Well, I feel like in 50 years, whenever like the Lloyd Kaufman of the future arises, there's going to be a movie called like Cooties 19. Once we're like past the 20-year rule, because I mean, you know, right? Because like it was only 22 some years after World War II, or no, I think it was 30 years after World War II that Surf Nazis Must Die came out, or like Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS, or any of those. Someday there's going to be a very tasteless, kishy movie about what we're all going through right now.
That's, you know, that honestly, I find that comforting.
Right? Like
if we get to that point, then we will be in a better place, I think. Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know.
Will we ever be in a better place again?
Well, I don't know. We'll see how this all... What was that?
Is this the best we can hope for the next year and a half? That we're actually allowed to go out of the house every so often and take a walk?
I mean...
This is as good as it gets.
Well,
you know, I'm just...
government fucked up big time, so we...
They're not taking away our rights?
Better scenario than that, but they all decided that the most important thing they could do with the information was sell off their stock.
Yeah, it's pretty criminal.
And I kind of feel like, honestly, some higher ups in the government, I would not be surprised if they're talking about this as if it's a thing that's going to lower like general tax rolls, because they're like saying, oh, okay, it's all the vulnerable people that keep using the government programs that are going to get killed over this, so we're going to save money long term. Yeah, that's I mean,
that's
there's no evidence for that, but there's no real evidence they seem to care whether we're here or not. So
meanwhile, Bernie Sanders has like diverted his campaign contributions toward like funding you know, the response to fight COVID-19. So at least there's one good politician. No, I mean there's like
he's
other
like functioning as the government more than the government is,
basically,
by doing that. Like there's such a fucking shit show. But
anyway,
someday, like
cane toads.
Someday we might be keeping COVID-19s as pets, as this movie illustrated.
Oh my god!
You know, maybe it has like a rough but silky texture, and
I know,
it likes being held.
Oh, you know, it makes me really want a pet toad, honestly. I think they're so cute. I've always loved toads. They're just like so whimsical.
I like the way they eat everything, including birds and little animals. That's how cute they are.
Oh
those
yeah,
are
I love
cane
that.
toads. But like the little,
like it'll eat anything that will fit in its mouth.
Including
like,
smaller than
like that. I mean, like if you could make a documentary about like the Europeans landing in America and probably keep a lot of the lines in general structure of this movie.
Yep. Yeah. No, they're wild. I mean, they're a little bit large, like too large for comfort. Like I'm used to the little toads that I would encounter growing up that were far less harmful.
As opposed to the European ones that came over and just swallowed everything they could.
Right.
Right. Well, wait, where Aren't these from Hawaii? Or did I mishear that?
No. What I said is that you could make a different movie about the Europeans
Oh,
discovering
right.
America that would follow basically the same exact structure as
Toad
this,
colonizers.
except for like there weren't any Native Americans that started like boiling down and smoking the settlers, as far as I know.
No, the settlers were smoking them.
Right.
That was part of them putting everything they could in their mouth.
Yeah. It's like an animal, because like when a dog does that, it's a disorder and it's called pica. Pica. So like
Humans can have that too.
humans can have that. I've encountered it more in dogs, thankfully, because I don't like to be chewed on. But yeah, actually, my friend's dog, when I was growing up, he had like the worst case of pica. This dog was like such a goofy dog. He was named Neo after Keanu Reeves in The Matrix, and we left him in his crate for like 10 minutes because we were just like hanging out. I must have been early high school at this point. And we turn around and we're like, wait, did Neo have his collar on when we put him in the crate?
Whoa.
And then somehow Neo ate his own collar off of his own neck. And then like 5 days later, Zach called me and he's like, yeah, we found his dog tags in the yard with some bonus features.
Wow, that's some dog.
Like, yeah,
it's kind of disturbing.
Kind of impressive, because like, how do you imagine a thing's around your neck. Now try to get your teeth to that.
Yeah,
with like a longer face than you have now, right? Because a dog's head, it just goes like straight out.
There's more room to chew.
I guess so.
I feel like I don't have to think too hard about how I would do this because it's not it's not an immediate concern
Maybe
for me.
that's just like what David Blaine does, is he just eats all the stuff.
When people put stuff in my mouth, they usually ask me not to chew it.
And thank God.
Oh God, that's like, so the listeners should know that like since I've been locked inside, we've all been like, I guess I've been binge watching Oz, and I've kind of brought it upon everyone in the house. But yeah, there's the dick biting storyline that was so ridiculous.
Huh?
You, Elizabeth, was that oh my God, I can't believe that's so painful scream?
That was like
pathetic scream.
That was like empathy, yeah.
Yeah.
Despite my not
but they
actually being able to imagine.
Feel like sympathy for the guy biting it.
Oh my God.
That's like how good a show that is.
It is a pretty good show.
Like when I go on IMDb and I write my short review with all the misspellings and exclamation points, like, this show will make you sort of sympathize with the guy biting another guy's dick. 5 stars.
I don't think that's gonna make anybody want to watch it.
Only the people who deserve to see this will actually be enticed by this review.
The people who have the courage.
Yeah, this is like a gating factor, and it's like if you only walk through the gate if you really, really want, if you deserve to see it.
How about this? Like, this show will make you sort of sympathize with a guy who bit somebody's dick off, and that's just the tip of the iceberg.
All right, that's a little bit better.
Yeah.
There's a little dangler.
No, Liz is like, why don't you just have a flashing neon sign that says "Hot Naked Man"?
I mean, I have my reasons for watching it.
There's the entire review: hot.naked.men. And that's it. That's all you write.
.com.
.com. Yeah. Oh, now I'm curious if there is a hotnakedmen.com. Let's see.
No. Yeah, I'm preparing for the video to just disappear because your computer's gonna immediately crash.
It's just gonna be like a live stream of your webcam right now.
Let's see. Oh, it's resolving host.
Wait, me?
Oh wow. Okay, this is don't go there. It's like it's a Chinese it's in Chinese. The source of COVID-19.
Yeah.
Right.
You can hold them accountable.
This is all the hot naked men as well.
It's something in Chinese. The first thing it does is it try to grab so you get notifications or go to another screen or something. So.
Oh no.
It's I forget what that kind of trapping is called. I mean, I doubt that hotnakedmen.com is a bank in China.
A bank. a very exclusive bank.
A very exclusive bank. Yeah, yeah.
I could never get an account there unless I like had a major revelation.
Well, actually, speaking of house arrest story, the like second most famous like male movie star in China, I think it was. Was it China? I think it's the second biggest movie star in China. He got stuck in Australia for like 18 months because somebody charged him with sexual assault, and the charges just got thrown out. But him and his wife were basically confined to a hotel room in Australia
Wow.
for like a year and a half.
Dang.
I should find that's an errata thing. That's definitely.
And I'm not in any position to go do a search right now.
Yeah, me either.
You look like you're like in a pose right now. You're like
Oh, like some sort of, I'm one step away from hotnakedman.com material.
Man, if they didn't take the
Except for the
domain
hot.
already, I was gonna say like we might get more traffic to this podcast, especially if we keep the questionable movies part, right? Like Hot Naked Men, questionable movies,
questionable
37
movies.
episodes. Speaking of which, 37 episodes means that we've been on the air for more episodes than a lot of like very famous things already.
Like what?
Mostly things that take more like effort and planning, but Mr. Show, we've been on longer than Mr. Show. We've been on longer than Deadwood, I think.
Wow, you guys, look at you go.
Yeah, one episode longer than Deadwood, because every season of Deadwood is like 12 episodes, I think. We've been on longer than Freakazoid. Freakazoid only ran for 24 episodes.
Ooh, Twin Peaks. How many? Oh,
yeah, we've been on longer than. Or no, not including the reboot. But if we're just including the original run, yeah, we're 7 episodes. Like within 10 episodes, because it's what is it, 47 altogether.
Okay, so we've still got. So we've got a new bar, a new line in the set. We've got to make it to 48.
Yeah, and then eventually we have to surpass The Simpsons.
So why is the most recent Twin Peaks season called a reboot? Because it's just a continuation 25 years later.
That's true.
But people refer to it as that. But that's not. As we learned from Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, it has a very specific definition that distinguishes it from a remake or a sequel.
Well, I think it's because like Kevin Smith hasn't been allowed to educate enough of the population as to the finer points of the existence of the 21st century yet.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's fair. By the way, it's available on Amazon Prime now, or is it Netflix?
Oh, awesome.
One or the other.
I would watch that again.
Like included. Yeah, I just watched it again. I liked it better this time.
You did?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
The scene that I didn't like, where I thought it went off the rails, like during the convention scene.
Oh yeah.
I actually liked it better this time. It made more sense to me than it did on the when we watched that on the big screen. The big screen.
Yeah, I mean it's like he's just like jerking all of us off the whole time, but like he's good at that.
Yeah, yeah. So this is actually a good example of him jerking us off.
Right, like fan service, just endless, but it's
Kevin Smith makes sure that each individual audience member gets a happy ending when they watch movies.
I mean, also remember when we went through the thing, the first thing he said was like, who's ready to go back to the 90s? And boy, am I ever ready to go back to the 90s right now.
Yeah, back before
COVID-19. My God, I've literally just been having nonstop nostalgia ever since this thing started. Even just for like 2 weeks ago.
Anything in particular, or just anything?
Just like anything. The things we thought were big problems, right? Like the biggest problem that people thought they were gonna have in certain contexts, obviously, like there were still bad things going on in the world, but at least in the bubble that I was growing up within during the 90s, oh God, if you broke a silly band, kids were supposedly having like color-coded sex acts in the janitor's closets, and that turned out it was a thing that like Oprah made up, or somebody like tricked Oprah into saying kids were doing. Somebody was supposedly selling Bart Simpson branded LSD outside of playgrounds to children who obviously have the kind of money where they can buy hits of LSD.
I think what this really reveals is that people will create their own problems no matter what their situation is.
Well, it's like Pogo, right? We have met the enemy and he is us.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Wow. No, but yeah, it's I think it's, I don't know. It's such a weird time, right? Because, like, on the one hand, you know, we're filled with anxiety and fear, and everything's completely changed, and it's nothing has ever been experienced in this kind of global fashion where it's affecting everybody, and none of us really know how to cope with it. On the other hand, it's like weirdly like centering to have your options so limited. To just like be reduced to such simplicity.
Well, and just the global scope of it too, I think is huge, because I remember 9/11, right? 9/11 happens, and there's all these memorial, like, cash-in kind of magazine, comic book, whatever, covers and stories that come out. And there's this issue, one of the hokiest, dumbest issues of Amazing Spider-Man that I've ever read. I probably read like 400 issues of Amazing Spider-Man when I was a kid, because I could just, like, I could mainline that shit all day. And it's the special 9/11 memorial issue of Spider-Man. And there's this god-awful sequence of, like, Doctor Doom hears about 9/11, and you see this little tear drop behind his metal mask, and the Kingpin is crying about 9/11. It's like, we're all in this together. Like, the fucking Red Skull, you know, like, Doctor Doom probably destroyed the World Trade Center before Al-Qaeda did in some issue of Fantastic Four, right? Like,
Yeah.
and it's so ridiculous. But now that we're all locked inside, and the enemy is actually from the outside, like a thing outside of humanity. I mean, there's also the enemies within humanity, but they're, you know, that's collusion with a larger enemy, I guess, at this point, more than something they spearheaded. But yeah, I mean, Doctor Doom would be in his house crying right now. Or I guess he doesn't have a house. He probably lives in, like, a castle in Latveria or whatever. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's just weird. And there's not going to be any, like, memorial cash-in kind of stuff on this, because nobody's going to have the money to, right? Like, after 9/11, it's like it's still a rich country, and people are looking to be comforted with, like, tchotchkes. After this, like, who's going to give a shit about tchotchkes? That's going to be a massive sea change in American culture, is just, like, people being forced to look beyond tchotchkes.
Right.
I also just really like saying the word tchotchkes.
Noted. No, I mean, that's, I think that there's...
And I think, like, we had the quickest backlash, too, because that Imagine video was, like, the closest thing I could think to that. And most of the response to that I've seen was just sort of like, fuck you, you guys bought all the tests, like, go hide in your house, or we're going to come after you with pitchforks. Like, these people that people were, like, worshipped and adored a week ago, all these celebrities and stuff, they're just like, we're angry villagers, and you bought up all the and, you know, they should be angry villagers. It's just really, I don't know,
well, yeah, it's hard to gauge how the general American population feels about this without actually really being able to talk with other people, because I think, like, something that this primary season has revealed is that we're, like, very much stuck in a pretty progressive bubble here in Boston. And yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot more, like, news coming out about how messed up, like, all this is, and I think a lot more people are feeling that way. Yeah, it's interesting. I think that, like, just going back to the, like, tchotchkes thing, like, I think it's something that people are doing a lot right now to gain a sense of comfort is online shopping. And I mean, God, like, who knows if, like, how many of those stores are still going to be up and running after this, you know?
Right. And if there's 20% unemployment, the thing is that cascades, right?
Right.
If you have 20% of the population's unemployed, those people are all going to be fighting over the jobs in the sectors that seemed secure, right? So then everybody, there's a ripple effect. It's not just like, you know, fifth of the population gets cut out, and then they go in the timeout box. You know, like,
we're gonna have to pool resources and pool, just like band together in communities to really get through this, which is already happening. But yeah, it's, anyway, we got really off topic from Toads.
Oh, did we see a movie today?
Yeah. Well, this is
Something
what
about
happens
birds?
when you don't watch a Super Friends episode, is that it gets like super serious.
Right.
Yeah,
need
we forgot
friends.
oh, sorry.
We need it to like. Well, I'm saying this, and that's funny because I'm not like a big Super Friends person, but like it raises the buoyancy level.
Well, I don't know. Like, I
Yeah.
watched an episode of Pete and Pete last night, and I laughed harder, I think, than I've ever laughed at any episode of that show anytime I've ever seen it. And I've probably seen that thing all the way through like
In
4 or
here.
5 times at this point.
Who's
Wow.
Dan's shoulder? You get Dan's shoulder.
Oh yeah, yeah. Finally, at one point, I realized that's all I'm gonna get. Sometimes a little bit of hair.
There we go.
There we go. Now I can see both of you.
Yeah, I mean, we were like playing tabletop ping pong and
Table tennis.
table tennis. Well, whatever. And
TT.
and like little things like that. All of a sudden it's like, wow, like I don't know, just these little things have so much power to uplift us at the risk
Well,
of
it's
sounding
funny
really
how like
corny.
it changed, because like I was trying to get you to play ping pong for like months, because we played it that one time, and then I set it up, and then I was like, should we play some ping pong? And you're like, no, the world is moving too quickly. I don't have the time to do this. There's other things I need to be doing right now, and now we're like all playing ping pong every day. So
I gave
I
up
kinda
on
got what I wanted.
like my dreams of having a career at this point. So I'm just like resigning myself to enjoying my life.
You gave up on your dream of having a life outside of the apartment.
Exactly.
Oh, next week we
Really?
should
No,
watch The
it's-
Apartment.
Oh, there we go.
That would be to keep up the kind of abstract theme.
Oh my gosh.
Have you ever seen that
No.
one with Shirley MacLaine? And
No.
okay,
Very uplifting.
that's a great movie.
Is it though?
Oh
Well-
yeah, well, it won the Best Picture Oscar in '60.
But
Not that always means, but no, this is one of the good Best Picture Oscar winners. It's by the guy who did Some Like It Hot and
Oh,
Double
right.
Indemnity, and
so it's like it's fun.
it's Billy Wilder.
I don't know if fun's the right word.
Oh.
Parts
Yeah.
of it are fun.
It's a good movie.
Is Billy
Mm.
Wilder related to Gene Wilder?
No,
Oh.
Should be.
should be, yeah.
Why aren't they related? Can we change that?
Yeah, maybe
Did
they
somebody
are.
adopt someone or something like that?
Yeah, but like Billy Wilder, he was one of the guys that was like hot shit in the German equivalent of Hollywood, and then he had to leave Germany for
Nazi reasons.
Nazi reasons. Yeah,
Hmm.
and American cinema was all the better for it, because the U.S., we got like movie wise, we won World War II, I think, even more than we won it like militarily. Right? We got like Fritz Lang, Billy Wilder, Ernst Lubitsch. Like practically every great movie that came out in the U.S. for 15 years was by a like German expat.
And with people like Peter Lorre.
Oh yeah, Peter Lorre, who was known as a comedy star in Germany. Like Weimar Germany, there's all these like physical comedies where he's kind of like almost like this short, fat Buster Keaton,
Huh.
which is really weird to think about now. But
Yeah, although I could see that. It seems like he's such a caricaturist face and way of talking.
yeah,
But I could totally see it being for that as opposed to this weird little villainous character in a Humphrey Bogart movie. So
yeah,
anyway, so toads.
toads.
So how is this different from frogs?
It was good. I think like, and it's weird because there are a lot of things in this movie that are superficially similar to frogs, which frogs is a god awful. For the listeners who have not gone back to that episode, whatever number it was, that was an early episode. That was probably like first 10 or so, right?
Yeah, that was like number 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, when you guys were babies.
We were babies.
Yeah.
Pod babies.
You were pod babies. Oh my god.
When Ron was like 5 feet instead of 5'3". He's still growing, ever since we started this. He's finally got that growth spurt.
Yeah, it's finally happening.
He's gonna look like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at the end of the show, but like no. But no, so Frogs, a god-awful horror movie about frogs on a southern plantation, killing everyone on the plantation by just sort of reverse shot, riveting. There's only one death in that entire movie that makes sense, when the one frog like pushes the poison over in the greenhouse.
I was waiting
Everything
for that
else-
to happen in this movie.
Right. And but no, like the endless kind of establishing shots of just frog, like dead toad eyes and frog eyes.
Yeah.
And them just kind of sitting, hanging out. Like, that's similar, except this one actually makes them seem threatening.
Well, it's because it's real.
Well, it's also coherent, and like
the impact is real and coherent, and
I mean, I feel like Frogs would have been a better movie if it was 46 minutes instead of an hour and a half.
Yeah. Right, I remember that. Like,
it would have been a good movie.
After a certain point, it's like you get it. You know, all right, we get it.
What I really 47 minutes is like the perfect length for a movie.
What I really want to know, I disagree. I think it depends on the movie, but
I'm only saying that because that's the length of my first movie.
I'm gonna Google what's going on with these cane toads in Australia today. I want to know.
Shouldn't you check how many COVID-19 infections and deaths there are first?
That'll still be there after this podcast.
Which site do you
go? A special strain called Toadvid-19.
Where do you? Where do you?
Whoa! Apparently cane toads are an invasive species, according to Wikipedia. In more than 15 countries.
Oh wow!
Let's see. They're native to South and mainland Middle America.
Oh.
Huh. Look at that little guy. Oh, he's so cute. Let's see.
That's your response.
I think they're cute.
Well,
Elizabeth is looking at pictures of toads on her phone.
Well, I'm trying to figure out.
Wait, I'm pretty sure that the Hypnotoad on Futurama is a cane toad. Like the drawing has to be based off of a cane toad. Also, I think that Liz is actually being hypnotoaded by these toads.
Apparently, some of them developed arthritis.
Is that how they were finally
arthritis?
Let's see. Oh, here's a fun map.
And why is toad arthritis like the biggest?
I'm trying to figure out.
Like.
Well, no, I was saying.
Can you imagine if your life revolved around studying toad joint pain?
The toads on the western frontier of their advance have evolved larger legs. This is thought to be related to their ability to travel farther. As a consequence of their longer legs, larger bodies, and faster movement, about 10% of the leading-edge cane toads have also developed arthritis.
You win some, you lose some.
It's not really giving me any information about whether they've had any. Let's see, methods to control evasion in Australia.
Give them all arthritis.
Currently, most attempts to curtail the invasion of cane toads have been unsuccessful.
Stop giving them SAG memberships.
Let's see. Yeah, they're kind of doomed.
Stop letting them vote on the Oscars. Just because they're movie stars doesn't mean that they're good for you.
Apparently, on June 13th, 2012, news reports cited a new research breakthrough regarding cane toad control. Research has confirmed that cane toad tadpoles are attracted to the toxin produced by adults in spawn. Tadpoles are believed to cannibalize toad spawn as a food source. That is messed up. Researchers use cane toad toxin to successfully lure cane toad tadpoles, implying that in controlled areas, tadpoles could be captured and eradicated. Okay. Seems like they're making some progress, maybe.
Wait, but that was 8 years ago.
Yeah, wait.
So what's happened since?
New research has indicated that in semi-arid areas where water is scarce, the construction of toad-proof fences around dams can severely affect toad survival rates by denying their access to water.
Is that like a thing you can, when you buy a fence, can you be like, yo, I want toad proofing? I mean, I guess so, because Wikipedia wouldn't lie to me, but
apparently they're trying to get yellow spotted monitors and sand gonas to eat young small cane toads in the hope that they'll avoid eating adult toads, which might kill them. I guess maybe the younger toads are not as lethal. I don't know. Anyway.
There's more flavor.
More flavor.
In the little ones, right? It's like when you get little vegetables. Oh, wait. Yeah.
What?
Oh, there you are. Okay.
Yeah. What did you say about vegetables? Sorry, I got distracted.
The little cane toads probably have more flavor, but also apparently other animals can eat them without dying.
Oh, okay. The little one.
Potentially, yeah. All
right.
Which means that eventually we're going to be like eating them as
I think at this rate,
like a kombucha, it's gonna be like the next almond milk is like baby cane toad.
Ew. Oh.
Like a baby toad taste.
They don't realize that they're a menace.
Yeah. Well, I mean, neither does the president.
I think he does. That's different.
Do you think he looks at himself in the mirror in the morning and he's like Walter White? He's like, I am the danger. I am the one who knocks. And then he like goes and eats a bunch of fucking Burger King.
I don't know. You know, it's a
So
good.
long as I don't eat the buns. So long as I don't eat the buns.
Does he not eat the buns?
No, he just eats the patty basically with like Pepsi and a bunch of fries. So like it's the patty is the least healthy part of the I mean not that like most fast food buns, they're gonna have a lot more sugar in them than like rolls you get from the grocery store. Like that's why like if you just took a McDonald's Big Mac roll on its own,
Bless you.
like it tastes much sweeter than standard potato bread
Uh-huh.
because they add sugar to it.
Right. But you're saying it's the healthiest part? Or it's healthier than patty?
I mean, none of it's like the healthiest part is probably the pickles, honestly. Like the little pickle slices.
The fresh vegetables?
Yeah, fresh.
I like the pickle slices.
Yeah.
They're in the right proportion, but no, the patty itself, you know, they
It's nice and small, so it's you get less bad stuff.
right.
So yeah, Toad.
That was,
How did you come out thinking about the toads after watching the movie? Because there were conflicting, like there are different people being interviewed, and there's the people that want them dead. I mean, there's the one guy that actually drives his car swerving across the road just so he could squash toads that are hanging out there. And there's the woman that considers them her friends, and she nurtures them and plays with them
And feeds them.
and feeds them. Right. She puts out food just for them.
Yeah, weird. I mean, well, apparently they like eat the cat and dog food if the cats and dogs don't get to it first.
Right.
I feel like if I lived in Australia and I was dealing with these toads, I would probably not have, I mean, I'd probably be like, oh, this is a bummer, but I don't think I would actively kill them because I think that should be like a government or like some kind of scientific response. I don't think that citizens should be like tasked with trying to kill these toads.
Okay.
will you
I
still
mean-
feel that way after they eat your firstborn because it's small enough to fit in their mouth?
Oh my god. If I'm having a firstborn
that's a fair question.
smaller than a cane toad, I think we have an entirely different problem. But I mean, okay, like for example, like sparrows apparently are invasive. We don't go around killing them. I mean, I guess they're not really disturbing the
We're
ecosystem.
invasive. We destroy the habitats of everything that surrounds us.
Well, I think the point of an invasive species is that humans introduced
I know
it
at
to
least
another.
personally, I'll eat just about anything that's small enough to fit in my mouth.
I already made that joke.
Oh,
Well, the difference.
well, yeah. So there's two of us.
The difference is that we evolved naturally to take over a bunch of different ecosystems across the world. Like invasive species are specifically introduced to the environment by humans. Like they don't, you know what I mean?
So your real issue here is like plagiarism, that they didn't come up with it first and they're stealing our fire.
No, I'm just trying to clarify the definition. But I don't know. How do you guys feel about the toads?
I mean, I'd want them dead, honestly. They'd be cute.
Yeah.
I'd probably go. I might play with them while they're there, but I'd want them dead.
But would you like actively kill them?
No, I couldn't do. No, it'd be the equivalent of paying somebody else to do my dirty work for me. In this case, it's somebody else being the government.
Like mob style.
Yeah.
Yeah, I convinced one of the other prison gangs to do it for me.
To kill the toads for you.
Yeah, I'd convince them that I'd be like, yo, those toads are talking some mad shit about you, bro. Like, if you want everybody to still respect you and you don't want to get like shanked in the shower, then you better go. You got to whack those toads, bro.
So how does that work? Do you need to teach them a lesson? Do you go and shank every toad out there?
Well, I mean, I guess like you just kind of do whatever you can do until the cell block's put on lockdown.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, the toads survive. There might be a few casualties, but on the whole, they stay alive, just kind of put in their place.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
I guess if the toads were just doing what they were supposed to, eating, because the whole idea, the reason that they were brought into Australia was to eat cane grub, which they ended up ignoring altogether. They infested.
right, they ate everything except the stuff they were supposed to eat.
Right. They didn't have the same schedule. One of them was working 9 to 5. The other one was working 5 to 9 or whatever.
Yeah. Some of them are working a split shift. Oh man, it's just all over the place. There's no coordination.
Very little overlap.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's
And
like
then
that's
that's
a
what
part they don't. Whenever they're like telling you about dog eat dog and evolution and all that stuff, they never mention scheduling.
It's a huge component.
Mm.
Yeah, the real problem is that the toads aren't doing what they're supposed to when they're supposed to. They're doing stuff that they're not supposed to. In fact, they're not doing what they were supposed to do in the first place. They're not doing that at all. They're doing anything but. And they're doing it on their own schedule. They're doing
I
it all
think
the
it's
time.
like there's like two problems. There's
I think what it really
they
comes
didn't
down
do.
to is we just resent their independence from us because we don't have those kinds of freedoms from human demands.
It's true.
And they're not stuck in their apartment.
Right.
They get
They're
to
not
walk
doing
around.
what they're supposed to, and they're also, I mean, they just basically didn't do their research before introducing these guys into the, it's like, they're basically, no one wants to eat them because they'll immediately die. It's just like, they're pretty well positioned.
Mm.
I
So
mean,
what are their natural predators? Did they talk about?
in America,
Yeah.
The like epidemiology commission in the government.
No, but when they're out in the wild, do they talk about what animals will eat them?
I'm Googling.
Because the animals in Australia can't, because they were dying. The animals that tried eating the frog or the toads have to remember the difference.
Apparently, they taste pretty good. Like of the poisonous things you could eat, they taste better than most.
Okay.
Let me see. According to,
Wikipedia. No.
let's see. Trying to find like a reputable source here. Oh, these things weigh almost 3 pounds. Jeez Louise.
Is that like
Maybe we should have gotten like a pet cane toad before we.
that's like half a baby, half a newborn.
It really is.
That's how small they are.
This isn't helpful. Let's see. Well, Quora, which I don't really trust, is saying that the broad-snouted caiman and the banded cat-eyed snake, as well as eels, catfish, bullet ants, and ibis, prey upon the cane toad.
Okay.
So there's that.
So now they just need to bring in some of those animals, bring those over to Australia,
And then they'll take over.
have them take over and get rid of the toad.
Well, I mean, like pufferfish is technically poisonous, and supposedly it killed Bruce Lee, but people still pay good money to eat a pufferfish.
Yeah.
Apparently there are some predators in Australia, but they're like predators of the tadpoles.
Oh.
Like, I bet if you figured out a way to cook these things and remove the poisonous whatever, like if you had a Michelin-starred restaurant, you could fucking clean up, right? Because that's what people always want to pretend that it's about oh, this is such exquisitely crafted food, but no, it's about nobody else is supposed to be eating it, right? And you just put it in your mouth.
So the most expensive item, the most expensive entree at the restaurant is poisonous frog.
Yeah, it's like the.
What is the difference?
You have to have all these unnecessary, pointless, very specific and very intensive skills to remove the poisonous bit to get the tiny bit of meat on the frog.
Uh-huh.
Wow, they're everywhere. Do you see?
Elizabeth is holding up a map. She's holding it up to the camera so that I can see it. And what it's showing is all of Australia's, roughly the northeast, from the coast to about a third of the way inland, is overrun by these toads. Nothing but toads everywhere you go.
They're everywhere.
And also in some little pockets throughout the country.
Trying to find. Okay, so it has few predators, which is bad news. Well, obviously, but I thought. Well, anyway, that wasn't. I thought I saw something about some eating the little guys, but
I don't know how I'd feel about that, because we're talking about how we'd feel about the toads. And I said I'd at the one hand, while they're out there, I think, oh, that's so cute, maybe catch one. But also I want these things gone. I want a government program to eradicate them, even if it means a mass slaughter of them. I'm perfectly fine with that. It's not much different from having not an inspector, not an investigator, not a dermatologist. What do you call the person that gets rid of your pests?
Gilon.
A what?
no, an exterminator.
An exterminator, thank you. So having a dermatologist come to your house doesn't do it. Having an exterminator come to your house and kill all the mice that are living in the walls. That's about the equivalent. That's what I want.
Right, but then what are you going to eat?
Oh, well, lots of toad meat when all is done.
Toad legs.
Yeah, we have
Thank you.
one big countrywide toad eating festival, and then that's it.
You're like rubbing your belly like you're hungry thinking about it.
Am I? Oh yeah, you're right. Oh, I didn't even think about
You're just
that.
like, toad meat.
Yeah, I have all that like takeout.
Oh yeah, so this is so. I'm lying down on the couch, 90-degree angle to the camera, because I don't want to go sit in the seat I usually sit in when I do work.
Oh, that's fair.
So where I am now is my couch / bed. Here, let me sit up. Let me sit up actually. So I'm actually not. It's not that I'm falling asleep. It's that I'm not quite. I won't say I'm not quite participating. Although I kind of do this when I'm over at your place. And we're
You're
talking.
usually not totally horizontal, but
Oh, that's right. No, I can't be. That's only when watching the movie. I can't when I'm actually, and that's only partially. When we're actually recording, I have to face.
I fell asleep for that one movie.
which one? Excuse me.
I forget. We were watching some movie and I was just like exhausted.
You
Oh,
fell
well,
asleep during McCabe and Mrs. Miller.
Well, yeah, but that was the second movie we'd watched that night.
That's true,
And
but
it was
it
like
was so
2 in the
good.
morning. It's a great movie, yeah.
It's so good. Have you ever seen that, Ron?
Mm-mm.
Oh God, you gotta watch it. It's not a feel-good movie, but it's a good movie.
It's like Robert Altman. It's a Western and it's got Julie Christie and Warren Beatty.
But it's like a very unconventional Western.
Okay.
It's like a very artistic.
It's a Robert Altman movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
He's just.
well, 70s, you have a
Altman.
lot of those like revisionist Westerns, though, that are like, I almost lump that in with Blazing Saddles.
Whoa.
But, like,
tone is
totally
very
different tone.
different, but they're both coming. The idea is to come at like, why have we glommed on so hard to these kind of arbitrary genre tropes of the Western?
Deconstructing the Western.
Right.
That's the whole
And I think
goal.
Westerns have only kind of,
And Johnny
they
Guitar
just look
too.
more and more ridiculous over time now that they're not the center of the cultural zeitgeist.
Mhm.
You know, there's a couple like John Ford movies are always going to be great, but I don't know. I mean, I guess I never lived through, because like our parents would have lived through like the period when the most popular genre of show on American television was like Westerns, you know.
Right.
The most popular movie genre was Westerns. Great.
What a weird wow.
The
I
music?
mean, it's all part of this sort of like mythology, but I feel like our generation like is much more skeptical of those things.
Well, I think we also just like there's nothing in a Western that looks anything like our existence.
Mhm.
We watch zombie movies
Right.
and zombie TV shows.
And now we're living in a zombie movie.
Now we're living in a zombie movie. You're right.
That's a really good point, because like every Western is about the establishment of the rule of law, right? Like not every single one, but like most of them, the foundational component is like, okay, civilization has not been established, some kind of threat to law and order shows up, and then the form of law enforcement has to arise from somewhere, right? Like High Noon, Gary Cooper is sort of the law rising out of the vacuum.
I think they're about real estate and development.
Well, but they're about the genesis of something, whereas zombie movies are about the collapse of something.
Right.
You still have the same kind of, you know, action sequences and whatnot, but there's no zombie movie that is about the implication of like a beginning and a future, or like origins of things. And whereas Westerns are obsessively concerned with the origin of things, because the primary thing that makes them a Western is the fact that their surroundings have not been settled
Right.
fully, or
They're surrounded by the
civilization
wilderness.
hasn't. Yeah, like even some of the greatest Western, like Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, which that would be a great one to do on the podcast. Like that's a great movie, but that's like literally a meta story about the nature of origins and like national myths and what creates, right? And that like sense of having come from somewhere and ergo having a distinct identity, because I think part of that does come down to the fact there's not really a distinct American identity. I think Americans tend to create their identity in the negative more so than much more so than older countries do.
What do you mean?
Extrapolate.
Okay, so like if you're in England has been established as a country and a culture for, you know, 2 to 3 times as long as the US has, probably longer. And so you don't have you don't have like when people speak rhetorically in British things, very rarely are they making an appeal to like, we have to do this because that's what it means to be British. This is how we prove we're British, blah, blah, blah. I'm taking a lot of this from a book by Richard Poirier called A World, what is it called? A World Elsewhere, I think, where he just kind of goes through early U.S. literature, and all of it is about like structured pretty similarly to say like Huck Finn. You're going down a river looking for definition. There's all these metaphors for the idea of the United States as this blank slate that people are projecting things onto, and there's all these anxieties about the possibility that there's just this like gaping void underneath all of that, and in fact there is no American identity. And I think like a lot of the social collapse that we're experiencing now does come down to the lack of a coherent social identity. Like the as a culture, we tend to be kind of selfish and self-focused, and so if there's not like a centering thing that makes us all think like, oh, we're in this together, we just all sort of like cloister in our houses and start eating each other.
That's why I'm glad I live alone. Nobody's gonna be eating me.
You'll just be eating yourself. No, I'm just
eating myself. Yeah. I'm saving this prime cut on my upper left arm. I'm saving that for last. That's a special.
Looks like a pretty prime cut.
It's the prime cut. It's sort of like the prisoners on death row. Their last meal, they get to eat like whatever they choose. It's like steak and bread pudding together as one because they can, and that's what they've always wanted. But I'm saving this bit of arm as my last meal.
Your last meal. I was reading this article right before this all started about like it was a picture of like all of these famous killers like last meals, and there were a couple who like refused, so they just got the generic breakfast. But yeah, it was like fascinating. So much of it was just like random, like
it's always like 2 tubs of ice cream and a bucket of fried chicken or something like that.
It's like random,
it's junk food,
random like home food, like what's the word for that? I mean, not junk food, yes, but like like things like peas with butter and like comfort food, like American comfort food was like the vast majority of these meals. It's fascinating. They're like pies.
None of them are ever asking for like caviar or something, which I think shows the general worthlessness of caviar.
Well, no, I think what it shows is what people probably want in their last moments are something that will make them think of childhood. Because I was thinking about it, I was like, if I were on death row, like what would I request? And I would probably request like clam chowder and like German chocolate cake, like things that reminded me of my earliest years, which like it's kind of spooky, but anyway.
Yeah, and I try to see if I can actually eat 20 White Castles in one sitting.
So apparently Ron has early childhood memories of eating his own arm.
Like I want to eat something greasy enough where like when they put me in the chair I like flame up.
Oh my god, that's one way of doing it.
That's gonna take a lot of White Castle hamburgers.
Oh, I hear little birdies.
Don't they know that there's a COVID scare out there?
Oh,
do they even know that it's Christmas?
Do they know COVID-19 there?
Is that the dumbest song ever recorded? Do they know it's Christmas? I always wonder, like, it's got to be up there, right? Because, like, they're talking about countries where they don't even celebrate Christmas. So, like a better name for the song would have been, like, Do They Give a Shit It's Christmas?
Yeah. Do they celebrate Christmas over there?
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Your shirt looks really weird right now.
Yeah, I don't know what's. I hiked it up when I lay down when I lay down on the couch. I hooked up there we go. Now my shirt is a little more normal. I don't know about my shirt, but my shirt is back to normal, sort of.
Yeah, your shirt's off doing his own thing.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Chirp to derp.
Yeah, now it's my head. I don't like this angle. Right, that's a little better. You can see I've gained 10 pounds
in a week.
Yeah, but it's not because of being stuck inside. It's because of the recreational activities I've been partaking because of being stuck inside.
Like
It's-
TV?
Smoking a
No,
lot of weed.
the weed.
Oh,
My if I'm smoking every day, I gain 10 pounds.
wow.
Damn.
If I stop smoking today, in like 3-4 days, I'll be back down 10 pounds.
That seems
Yeah,
like a
because
very
you
fast.
usually have like no appetite unless you're stoned.
Yeah.
You're like almost like a cancer patient or something, like, but only in that way.
Oh, God.
Oh yeah, no, totally. It totally gets rid of anything that gets rid of my appetite. This makes up for it. Like everything's great. I'm like, no, I don't want that. I prefer the minimal appetite. It means I'm not sitting here eating like a bucket full of cheese fries.
Cheese fries.
Well, you
Usually-
could like, I don't know, you could alternate, like instead of smoking weed every day.
I'm giving you different angles of my apartment.
Oh yeah, because you've never
I
been
like-
to his apartment. Yeah.
No, I have.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Oh,
I've been there a couple times.
right. Man of La Mancha.
It's nice. Your apartment looks nice.
Thank you.
Do you get to see the floor, or is it too messy?
Say that again.
Stardust
the
movie.
Oh yeah, you see all the cables.
I don't see
Weed
cables.
grinder.
Wait, what are we seeing? There we go. There's the floor.
Oh, it's a nice floor.
Is that a bra?
No,
Where? That light, that white
It's
thing
like
in the
a
middle.
white thing under the
that
table.
is not a bra. It looks like
Oh, under the table. That's
like a candle.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a candle.
Couple candles.
It looks like a bra from the angle.
Oh, I see. Oh. Wait, let's see that.
Do you still have people coming to clean during this period, or no?
I'm debating. I don't know what to do. On the
You
one
like
hand,
you definitely shouldn't.
should not.
Should not.
Yeah.
Not to
Well-
like put people out of business, but that's really dangerous at this point.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to balance that because I know this is probably killing her job because her entire job is one-off going into people's houses. Well, there could also be she probably also has regular like weekly or bi-weekly clients.
Well, it's just like you have to figure like how many other houses is she potentially going in?
Right.
I don't know.
And picking up coronavirus from all these different sources and spreading it to all of them. And it's not like she's getting tested, not until she develops really bad symptoms,
And
finally
even-
allowed into the hospital, and then still doesn't get tested because
Right.
it's 103 degrees instead of 104, or just, yep, you're showing the symptoms. Go
What
home.
if they made it like what if they made it a written test? Would that solve all the problems?
What if they added a poll tax as well? Would that finally stop COVID-19 in its tracks? I guess it stops the coronavirus, not the COVID-19.
Well, what if they what if they try to like swing this around to be like an identity politics issue? So that like you get to identify as having the virus if you want, but that's like a personal identity choice. And then they can also blame anybody who gets the virus for getting it. So I feel like that's the way to sell Trump on.
I'm fighting it. Well, I imagine that given, the identity politics and probably have to deal with coalitions, that they're probably Democrats. They're going to go to the Democratic Party. And which will give Trump all the more reason to try and combat it. So this all works out perfectly. We increase the size of the party. I bet they've got a pretty progressive stance. I mean, COVID-19 is all about universal healthcare, Medicaid for all kind of stuff.
No, it's actually not. We're not supposed to get a nor'easter. Sorry.
Wow, way to crush all my hopes and dreams.
Yeah. Or is it just going to be rain instead of snow?
It says it's supposed to rain. Let's see.
Oh my god, I was tired. I like slept a lot.
Because we've been sitting on our asses all day.
Oh yeah, I gotta do my push-up challenge today. I've done 108 push-ups this week.
Do we have to play every time that I play a little bit of game?
Yeah, you can dance, you can jive.
Copyright
Time of your
claims
life.
and get sued.
See
We're
that
on the
girl.
air. We don't own that
See.
song. But now that I'm parodying it, it's technically fair use. Should we sign off?
Oh yeah, okay. Once we started singing, dancing,
Because I don't think we're actually doing the podcast at this point.
Oh,
we're
sorry.
never getting back to Toads. Yeah, okay. So Toad, any last thoughts on Toad? Toads are what's the actual movie's name?
It's Cane Toads and Unnatural History, 1988.
So do you have any other thoughts about it? I keep calling him Toad in the same way that Frogs is just called Frog.
Well, every time when you just say like Toad, I'm thinking of like the Mario character. He looks kind of like flaccid penis, and he always gives Mario items. In like Mario 3, whenever he goes into the hut, and it's like, take this item, it will help you on your journey. He's like the little dude in the vest, but
yeah.
but yeah. So if that was really all the thoughts I could come up with, then I think I'm out of thoughts on this movie. How about you, Elizabeth? She's having trouble even coming up with words.
I think that it really makes me want to catch a little toad.
And take it and wait, does I want to hug it and squeeze it and call it Fred?
I want to have a little toad pet.
Oh, toad babies.
Toad pet, but like one of the little local ones. I don't want like a big giant toad. This is too much.
Yeah, once it grows full size, you chuck that thing, throw it on the road, and wait for somebody in a VW bus to come over and crush it.
Oh,
you're the kind of species I want to invade my life. I'm gonna put that on a Valentine's card.
That's the sweetest thing. So, all right, and now Dan and Elizabeth are doing wave and hand motions in front of the camera for me, but with total silence.
Yeah, well, Liz is making like a really bad math joke about sign language.
Because that was a sine wave. All right. Okay. Well, I guess with that, I don't know. I don't have anything else to say other than this was fun.
This was fun.
Yeah. And
imagine if there was like a show where it was just a sine wave for like half an hour, and they advertise it as like, this is like you've seen Seinfeld, now a show actually about nothing.
I think mine's better.
I'm seeing more sine waves, more hand and arm waves in the shape of a sine wave. All right. Well, that makes for good radio. Cool. All right. Well, I guess that's it. We can sign off.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, everybody, we hope you're taking care of yourselves. We know it's rough out there, and hopefully by the time that this airs, it'll be less rough. But that's the I was going to say that's the optimist in me. There is no optimist in me, so I don't believe anything of what I just said.
Well, hopefully the next time we meet, it'll be rough, but with like a silky feel.
Oh no! If you want a silky
like
feel, we should be facing my drapes. That has a silky feel.
Those are some nice drapes, I gotta say.
These are actually, I hope that doesn't sound too disgusting. Oh yeah, especially today. They're actually the last tenant left them behind. I was gonna get rid of them because
it's not really. I mean, what do you think people are doing with drapes?
Well, it's just that they're a shiny blue with peacock feathers all over them, which is the last thing that I would ever buy at the store. But if I bought them, I would be like,
it's peacock, because from the distance you were showing them, it just looks like you killed a wizard and you're like hanging it as like his hide.
Oh, I see. Yeah, this is the wizard's cape or the wizard's cloak. No,
I don't think they're terrible. I kind of like the colors.
I really like them. They give the place, considering how small the place is and how dark it could be, they make it seem very lively. I never would have bought those.
You just never would have thought, like, this is something I want.
Right. There probably would have been a black or a dark brown or maybe even a red. I could see doing a red as a splash of color. But a solid red.
To match that pillow behind you.
Yeah, something to match the pillow. This is like unusual colors in my home, other than say book spine. Everything else is pretty dark and muted. So and then white walls with framed things on them. But yeah, so it's neat to have this thing that I never would have gotten myself.
Right, a little gift from the universe.
Yeah, a universal gift. Well, that means something else. Though. Anyways, so but I do hope that things maybe that's optimistic. But I hope things will get better. That's
soon. Yeah.
Sooner than later, and we'll be.
Until then, we'll be.
And I hope we don't get used to this. I hope nobody gets used to this and becomes complacent. We should not be happy with this.
I mean, if you're trying to get me like used to not sitting around the house all day, like that train left the station like 3 years years ago.
No,
10 years,
I'm
20 years
worried
ago.
but I don't worry that you'll become complacent about the rest of the world and all that, because that's already your natural state. I'm worried that no. wait. I think I left out half of that thought so that it came out very different from what I intended. All right. Let me
No,
try
I
that
know what
again.
you're saying. It just
I think
you did not say what you meant at all.
what was that?
You did not say what you meant at all.
Yeah, okay. So you know what I actually meant.
Behind.
What I meant is that you're physically fairly sedentary, but in terms of like politics and the world out there, you're far from it. So you're already used to being in this particular state in which you could spend, you don't have to do much in order to do a lot.
Couch activism. That's the
There we go.
official term.
And there's a lot actually to be said for it. Honestly, I know it could be used pejoratively, but I think there's a lot to be said for it. But I'm worried that most people aren't used to that state and they'll become complacent in the same way of just sort of like giving up. It's like, there's nothing we could do about this. And so, oh well, I guess this
You know what this is like? This is like those scenes on Futurama with all the heads in the jars in the museum, like chatting with each other.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because like we sort of, it's almost like we don't have bodies for the next 18 months unless we're sick or like.
Here's my body.
The most that can be done is the head moves from one room to another.
Right. Or it gets like a Robo-Nixon exoskeleton structure thing. And that brings us back to Hypnotoads.
Toads.
Which personally I am overjoyed about our new Hypnotoad leader, and I think he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Anyway.
Why do you have to insult Bernie that way?
Huh?
Why do you have to insult Bernie that way?
Ouch.
That was just uncalled for. So. I'm sorry. I keep taking us away from what we're trying to do.
Anyway, this has been a nominee. This has been
nominee questionable movies.
Quite questionable movies. I guess for this episode, this was a nominee questionable movies. This will be a nominee questionable movies next week. This week it was also Anthropocene questionable ecology.
Oh right.
Featuring a very special guest host who I have not spoken with in a long time, and it was a lot of fun to pick her brain.
It was fun talking with you guys.
I'm talking with you.
And yeah, hopefully next time we all speak, we'll be roaming the countryside with the freedom and like relaxed attitudes about nudity of the Australian cane toad.
Because that's what happens when zombies attack.
Yeah. Well, you only get.
We drive off to upstate New York and get naked. All right.
The only protection is to go fully nude.
I mean, that's how we met, We drove to upstate New York, get naked.
Look, some more naked upstate New Yorkers, people. All right. I found my peep.
It all began in that coffee shop.
You didn't tell me it was a naked coffee shop.
Well, I never told her that I wasn't wearing anything under that outfit that I was wearing on our first date.
That was right before you told her that you were thinking about a Jerry Lewis Holocaust movie?
Oh, no, that was a different woman. I have no idea what that woman's name was.
That was a different woman.
That was a different woman in a very different time and place. But no, I never told Elizabeth that, like, under the button-down and the T-shirt, I was naked.
So it was one of those naked...
boxers. Like, I was completely naked on our first date.
Wow.
Scandalous.
Mm-hmm.
You heard it here first, folks.
Outside of clothing, I am naked.
I'm always fully clothed. Even when I'm not wearing anything, like in the shower, I'm fully clothed.
This is taking me back to Arrested Development. Tobias.
So much of this feels like we're all going to be George Sr. by the end of this, right? We're going to be like talking to our hand and like playing Monopoly with dolls and trying to start.
What do you mean going to?
To be continued.
Yeah, I've got a game of Naked Twister waiting for me. Just on the other side of the button.
That's how I met your mother.
That sounds entertaining.
Well, I've got 3 Loki figurines. So we've got a full full game cohort.
Next time I'm on a nominee, a guy in China eats bad soup. America runs out of toilet paper. That's how I met your mother. Till next time, folks.
All right. Say goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Okay, take care.
All right. Bye.